Welcome to Blue Collar Sports Talk. Let's talk sports. Here's a quick look at what we're going to talk about today on our show. Since we're in Nebraska, we have to talk Husker sports. Everyone has their opinion right now about the college football playoffs. We'll give you ours. We'll take a look at some NFL stuff. We'll talk some NBA. And now, here's our show. Hey, everybody. Daryl here, Blue Collar Sports Talk, sitting across from Roger. Let's talk some sports.
You bet. Hello.
We're going to jump right into Husker volleyball. The Husker volleyball going on right now in the tournament is amazing. And also, we have 6 players that were nominated for the American Volleyball Coaches Association All-Region Awards in the North Region, and including John Cook. He was honored as one of the best coaches in the region, so he was named Region Coach of the Year. So we have Becca Alec, sophomore, Merritt Beeson, the transfer, and then 2 true freshmen, Andy Jackson, Harper Murray. 3 true freshmen, Bergen Riley, and then sophomore Lexi Rodriguez. So that's huge that we have 3 true freshmen getting all region honors. That's amazing. And if you're a volleyball fan, I'm sure you've been checking out the bracket this year. We've had Creighton, who recently lost just the other night to Louisville. So if you're a native Nebraskan, who do you root for? You have Danny Busboom Kelly coaching Louisville, who is an Adams native and UNL alum, going up against Creighton, in-house team. And then you have the Huskers that just swept Georgia Tech. And the Big Ten was represented strong, too. We have Wisconsin. They played Penn State the other day. We still have Wisconsin in. They're playing Oregon on Saturday. And on the other side of the bracket, you have Louisville taking on Pittsburgh, and the reigning champ Texas taking on Stanford. So Saturday is going to be jam-packed. You have the Huskers taking on Arkansas at 5 p.m. That should be on ESPN. Wisconsin will battle Oregon Ducks at 7. The early match is Louisville-Pittsburgh, 3 p.m. on ESPN, and Texas-Stanford is the late match at 9 p.m. on Saturday.
Yeah, I believe there was 5 Big Ten teams. I seen Minnesota lost. And, of course, Wisconsin beat Penn State. I don't know about Purdue.
Purdue was in there as well, yeah. So,
are they still alive?
No, they got beat. Okay. No, it's down to the last
Wisconsin,
Elite
Nebraska.
8. Yeah, just the last 2 are in it. So,
okay.
Fun time if you're a volleyball fan, and
that's probably the 2 best teams in the country, Nebraska, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think so.
Of course, I never watched Texas this year. You can't ever sleep on Texas.
Texas is really good.
So, and then Louisville, they are a good team, but we'll have to see. It was neat to just look at the bracket and see 3 Nebraska teams in it. Omaha was in it. I think it was the first year eligible for it, and they got in it. Maybe it wasn't the first year they were eligible to make it, but anyway, they were in it this year. And so it's definitely a volleyball state. So
right, in the Nebraska bracket, it's the 1 seed Nebraska and against the 3 seed Arkansas. Had
Arkansas
Kentucky
knocked off Florida or Kentucky.
Kentucky won, that would have been the 1-2 seed.
Yep.
Because the other side, Wisconsin and Oregon, are the 1-2 seed. And in the other side,
I hear that Oregon team is watching Nebraska yesterday. I heard that Oregon team is very good. Very good,
yes. And Stanford's the 1 seed, Texas is the 2 seed, and on the other side, Pittsburgh's the 1 seed, Louisville's the 2 seed.
Okay.
So,
and Oregon plays who again?
Oregon plays Wisconsin.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out how good they are then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is crazy because whoever wins, there's a chance that Nebraska could match up against Wisconsin, which would be the 3rd time we played this year. And we've split matches already so far, so it should be fun. Staying on the topic of Husker stuff, if you have had your ears and eyes open, you've seen so many things about quarterbacks already going to the transfer portal with the amount of coaches that are changing, schools getting fired, whatnot. And I found it interesting that Matt Rule made a statement about the cost of getting top athletes through the transfer portal. So the reason I bring this up is to not talk about the transfer portal or the state of Husker football, other than just to say, I am personally hoping our offense can make the same positive strides in 2024 next season that the Husker defense made in 2023. To have a defense that statistically ranked in the top 15 is amazing. And our offense was in the bottom, the cellar. And I want that to change so drastically. So we'll see what happens. I don't think the transfer portal is the way to do it. I think coaching what you have available is the way to go. But obviously, I'm not getting paid to coach the Huskers. So
Yeah. Tony White, our defensive coordinator, he is coming back. So he was up for some head coaching jobs. And I don't know, how any of them hiring sessions went for him, but he's coming back, and I think he's getting a raise. I don't know exactly about that either, but it's good to see him come back. I think he did a great job. I think he was a good hire. And
I'm glad you
yeah.
brought that up. So put yourself in that situation. You're an assistant. People are asking you to come interview for their head coaching spots. How long do you stay an assistant?
Yeah, or how long does he go to like Scott Frost goes to Central Florida? Pretty soon he's a great big hire because he had success at Central Florida.
Right.
Tony White goes to, let's just say he goes to Eastern Illinois University, some small school.
Yeah.
And turns him around, makes him a winning program. Well, then all of a sudden Texas calls him. Well, heck, I'm making from $2 million to $10 million overnight. I'm taking the job,
And if you fail, they're going to pay you to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel Nebraska has gotten off easy after what happened with A&M. A&M, if they have to pay that out, it's north of $60, $70 million that they're going to pay a coach to not coach there anymore.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Oh, it's crazy money.
So, speaking of getting it wrong, I think the college football playoff should have expanded already this year. I know they're sticking with the 4 teams, and next year they're going to 12, but who cares if you expand it this year then? Because in my mind, the top 3, 4th, 5th, and 6th teams were all tied. I think 1 and 2 were kind of cemented in after the conference championships per se. But 1, I'm glad I'm not on the college football selection committee and had to make that choice. And 2, just pony up and go, yeah, this will be the last year before we expand to 12. Let's just make it 6.
Yeah.
But there's no way the Bulls would have agreed to it. Yeah. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I believe they got it wrong too. Florida State did everything they asked them to do, and they're holding them out, But I mean, look at who's getting in ahead of Florida State. You got Texas, you got Alabama, 2 of the biggest brands in college football.
Oh yeah.
I mean, anybody says that money don't play a factor in that, they're wrong. I mean, it's big market football, and that's just what it is. I mean,
I also think that Georgia and Florida State fans would have traveled just as well, and money does play a factor.
But they got it wrong, and to me, the committee is lazy. I mean, because this Jordan Travis didn't get hurt in the ACC championship game. He got hurt 2 weeks prior to that game. But yet, the week that they beat Florida, they jumped Florida State up to number 4. And then they turn around and drop them and put Alabama in it and say that the reason why they did that was because they don't believe Florida State is one of the 4 best teams in the country.
I think their defense is.
And my thing is like, you just decided this on the last week of the season. I mean, 2 weeks ago, you thought they were the top 4 team in the country. You put them in the top 4. And now all of a sudden you're saying that they're not? I mean,
I think you hit the nail on the head. They are lazy. That was a lazy move.
Yeah, it was lazy. I mean,
And for Georgia still not to be in it, even so, if Alabama is in there and one of the top, they lost to Alabama by 3 points. By 3 points, that's it. It makes no sense to me to allow other one-loss teams in there,
yes.
and to not allow the team that ran the table on everybody except for Alabama and only lost by 3
Yeah.
to not get in it. And then in the same breath, Ohio State, one loss is only to Michigan.
Yeah.
So the College Football Playoff Committee had a monstrous task to pick the top 4.
Yes.
But they did. In my opinion, got it wrong.
Yes, and I believe they got it wrong too, because they'll follow it up by saying, well, the committee can pick who they believe are the top 4 teams in the country and put them in this playoff. So if they wanted to, they could have put Georgia in it ahead of Texas or Washington too. And you cannot tell me that Georgia's not one of the best 4 teams in the country.
They are.
Georgia is the best team in the country. So by them saying that, hey, we're going to put the best 4 teams in this tournament. Well, you got it wrong already, because Georgia's not in it. Georgia's better than Washington.
I think they are. I think Washington's defense is going to get found out, and they're going to have so many points scored against them. This Georgia, Florida State, Orange Bowl, I think is going to be an amazing matchup, because Georgia has to battle and Florida State's defense, and they're stout. That defense is stout.
Yes, and that's another reason. I mean, I thought part of a season is you take your bumps, you take your losses, you take your quarterback goes down, your offensive linemen go down, but you keep winning. You overcame adversity, and here you are doing everything that you're supposed to do, and then they just say, we're not going to let you in because your starting quarterback got hurt. I mean, that's kind of a slap in the face.
That is a huge slap in the face.
And then they turn around and pin them against Georgia, which probably is the next best matchup. But now if Georgia beats them like they should, they're 14-point favorites.
They are, yeah, 14-point favorites with over set at like 44
So then
and a
they're
half.
going to say, see, that's why we didn't put them in it. Well, then you're telling us you got it wrong because you didn't put Georgia in it. I mean, come on. I mean, the 4 best teams in the country are Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, and Ohio State. Just let Vegas make the odds, put them on neutral fields, and that's who the 4 best teams are.
So if you would have paired Georgia and Ohio State,
yeah,
who would have came out on top, do you think?
Oh, I think Georgia's the better team of them 2.
Okay.
But I think
I
think Ohio State's better than Texas and Washington.
It's such an interesting situation that I would have loved to have seen, and there's no way to do it, but I would love to see the way baseball does it, and you have to lose twice before you get kicked out. Because to pair Ohio State and Texas somehow, or to pair Washington and Texas, or Washington and Ohio State and a few of these other matchups, I would love to see it, but you're never going to get a chance to see that.
Yeah.
Instead, the Sugar Bowl hosts Texas. Last I checked, 4-point favorite over Washington, which I think is going to be a relay race to the finish. Whoever has the ball last is going to be the winner.
Yeah.
And then the Cotton Bowl. Missouri has to take on Ohio State, with Ohio State, last I checked, only favored by 1. I don't know. It's the Rose Bowl in Alabama, Michigan. I don't know, Roger. I personally can't wait till next year when they have 12 teams. And then, of course, teams 13 and 14 are going to complain. But this year, when really all of your teams after 2 or 3 or 4, they're all just like the talent level is right there.
Yeah.
But somehow they've snuck number 6 into the top 4.
The coaches poll, it actually plays a factor in this college football playoff. The coaches poll is a metric or whatever that they use to determine the best 4 teams, along with strength of schedule and everything else, But in the AP poll, it's not. So the AP is still a separate is a separate poll that they have Florida State ranked 4th and Alabama's 5th in this AP poll. And they've already had a couple AP voters that I've read that said that if one of these one-loss teams, whether it's Alabama or Texas, if they go on to win this college football playoff and Florida State does beat Georgia, that they will vote Florida State number 1 in the AP poll.
That'd
But
be
at the
crazy.
same time, this article went on to say that they don't think that there's enough voters in the AP poll that would do that to make Florida State the number 1. But they say they don't know because right now all the other AP voters are staying silent about it.
Yeah.
But I've said this in the past. I said it's possible that a team that just barely gets left out, if the AP feels that they're a team that's better than the team that they put in, if that team goes on to win the playoff and Florida State goes on to beat Georgia, they might very well be the AP number one team. So, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it is. I don't think Florida State beats Georgia.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think Georgia's the best team in the country still. And
I think
that's just the
Georgia
way
has
it is.
something to prove. Georgia's is going to come in and just annihilate them if they get
Yeah.
a chance.
You know, so
How about the Alabama-Michigan? Who do you think comes out on top of that one? Alabama is hitting their stride. They are looking really good.
They are. And I said it a few weeks ago when we did this podcast that if Alabama runs the table and beats Georgia, they're going to get in this playoff. And people thought, dude, they're 8th. There's no way they get in. Well, they're in.
They're in. Yeah.
So, I called that.
Yeah.
And
You did. Good call.
I think Michigan's a better team. I really do. I think their defense is stout. And I don't think if Alabama plays, especially if they play the way they did against Auburn, they ain't going to beat Michigan. Now, they played the way they did against Georgia, then, yeah, they can win.
Okay. Rewind last year. I didn't think TCU had a chance against Michigan. And then somehow TCU hangs.
Yeah. That Michigan defense is night and day difference this year. I think Michigan could shut down Alabama. I really do. I think Michigan wins this game. I think they do. I think they cover and win.
It's going to be a fun matchup. Whoever comes out on top. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. Although the overs are set at 45.5, I think it's going to be a defensive battle. Although I thought Georgia and Alabama would have been a little bit lower scoring. I thought maybe both of them would have got to 21 tops, but 27-24, so that was a good game as well.
Yeah.
This time of year is also all the awards are coming out, and the Heisman top 4 have been selected for Saturday's Heisman ceremony on ESPN at 7. You have, of course, Washington's quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. He has over 4,000 passing yards, 33 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. And then also LSU's quarterback, Jaden Daniels, over 3,800 passing yards, 40 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions. Somehow Brock Bowers, the Georgia tight end, snuck in there with 714 reception yards. And I couldn't remember how many games he'd missed, but he has 6 touchdowns. So, in the grand scheme of things, I think he missed like 2 or 3 games, 3 games maybe. I mean, that's, for missing that many games, that's still pretty good for a tight end. And then the Ohio State wide receiver, Marvin Harrison, a little over 1,200 yards receiving and 14 touchdowns. So that's a stacked Heisman class right there.
Yeah. And, by just looking at them 4 names, I mean, the one guy that is probably the most NFL ready is Marvin Harrison Jr. He's probably the best talent out of these 4 guys. Now, I know how the Heisman likes to give it to the quarterback. So I assume it's going to probably be this Jalen Daniels, would be my guess.
Jalen. Jalen.
Oh, okay. Jalen's the Kansas guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Before we started recording, we had to check that out because and it's tough. All these kids playing right now.
Yeah.
Jalen Daniels is the Kansas guy or Kansas State.
Kansas. Yep.
And Jaden Daniels is the LSU guy.
Yes.
So another stat. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think Marvin Harrison's the best talent of these four. But we had Devontae Smith win the Heisman as a wide receiver just a few years ago with Alabama. So, who knows? Who knows?
Pure talent wins. And the reason I bring that up, Barry Sanders won it, and he was up against Troy Aikman and I can't even remember who else was in there.
I watched that documentary.
Did you?
By the way. Yes.
Yeah, and I found that very interesting because Troy Aikman said, I had all of the media and press coverage, and he won it on sheer talent.
Yeah.
And he truly did.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think Marvin Harrison on sheer talent is probably the most talented, with a tie to this Jaden Daniels kid. But there were some interesting stats that I wanted to look at. So sack-wise, Penix Jr. was sacked 10 times this year. Jaden Daniels, he was sacked 22 times this year. Now, a guy who didn't make the list, but who I think is as easily NFL ready as any of the guys on that list for the Heisman. And you're going to cringe possibly when I say this, but Shedeur Sanders. Okay, that kid this year at Colorado, he had 3,200 yards passing, 27 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, but he was sacked 52 times.
And he didn't play the last 2 games of the year, right?
No, because he has a back fracture.
Yeah.
He got hit so many times, and if he would have, how many more times would he have been sacked?
Yeah.
But that kid has an arm.
But this Jaden Daniels, he was sacked twice as much as Penix. But LSU was not a very good football team earlier in the year.
No, they weren't.
Their defense was horrendous. And they kind of impressed me turning it around the way they did. So,
and honestly, for a team that is 9-3, I'm surprised a quarterback who's on a 9-3 team gets selected as one of the 4 finalists for the Heisman.
Yeah.
I was a little shocked.
Yeah.
But okay, so you'd mentioned what they'd done earlier in their game against Florida State. Florida State scored 45 on them, and LSU was still able to put up 24 points. But this kid for LSU can sling it. They put up almost 50 points against Ole Miss, 41 points against Mississippi State, 49 points against Missouri, 48 against Auburn. And even though they lost to Alabama, they put up 28 points against Alabama, 52 against the Gators. I mean, they can get it done.
Yeah.
And also, I think they're playing a Big Ten foe on New Year's Day in a bowl. Yeah, they're playing Wisconsin. So that should be a fun matchup, Wisconsin and LSU in the Real Quest Bowl. All right.
Win-loss record is a big deal, too, in this whole Heisman. And, of course, Penix is undefeated. So it wouldn't shock me if they give it to him based just on that. So.
Right. Sheer numbers, it should go to Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Win-loss record, in my mind, it's almost tied between Penix Jr. and Marvin Harrison, but Marvin Harrison's team has that 1 loss. So will it go to Penix Jr.? Good chance. Good chance that it will. NFL. So counting this week, there are 5 weeks of the regular season left. And looking at the Niners, they've won 4 in a row. And if you're a Niners fan, you can probably breathe a little sigh of relief because if you look back, week 6, 7, and 8, they lost to the Browns, the Vikings, and the Bengals, 3 weeks straight. But if you replay that. The Browns have had quarterback injuries. The Vikings have quarterback injuries, and they now have Josh Dobbs. And the Bengals, they're on their backup as well. So they may not have lost if you were able to rewind that somehow. But man, the Niners are looking good, and now they're going to play the Seahawks, and they're looking like they're one of the top team in the NFC right now.
They are the top team in the NFC. Philadelphia is dealing with injuries right now. 49ers are the team in the NFC this year. I said that last year that they were, and then of course they made it to the championship game and lost to the Eagles. But the 49ers were dealing with a lot of injuries in that playoff.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, if they stay healthy, they're the team to beat. Philadelphia is dealing with the injuries right now, so yeah.
Christian McCaffrey is having a heck of a season. He's already got over 1,000 yards rushing, 12 TDs rushing. And Brock Purdy is having a great season as well. 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 3,100 yards. Taking on the Niners at San Fran, favored by 11. If the Cowboys can get past the Seahawks, the Niners should not have any issues that I can see. But also in the NFC, the Eagles, after that loss to the Niners, are going on the road to Dallas. So that would be a key matchup in proving dominance in the East Division of the NFC. Last I checked, Dallas was favored by 3.5. And I don't think that's changed. Now it's still 3.5. Overs are at 51.5. So they don't think defense is going to be that big of a deal. On the other side, the Bills are kind of a shock to me. I didn't see them being just right at 500 this point of the season, but they are, and they are on the road to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are coming off that loss to Green Bay. I think the Chiefs are going to get that sick taste out of their mouth after that loss in Green Bay and just beat up on the Bills. Or this is my silly question, Roger, or has the sideshow that is the Kelsey and Swift relationship been too much of a distraction for the Chiefs?
Well, I don't know what it is with the Chiefs. I mean, they just keep dropping the ball. It's just it's crazy that they cannot hang on to that ball. But no, they're definitely, their offense is not the same offense without the Miami kid. Just his name drew a blank. But anyway, yeah, I don't know what it is, that because I think the Chiefs defense is one of the top defenses in the league.
Oh, the running back, Pacheco?
No, the wide receiver, Hill. Tyreek Hill went to the Dolphins.
Okay. Yeah. They are not the same. They are not.
Yeah. I mean, Tyreek Hill, and he's proven that he is every bit worth that money, because he down there in Miami, it looks like he's going to get 2,000 yards and be the first wide receiver to do that. So
it took pressure off of the tandem with Kelsey and Hill. Yeah. Now, if you key on Kelsey, that's 80% of their offense.
Well, I don't know why defenses don't. Everybody else seems to drop the ball. I don't know why you even worry about them. But so
yeah. No, you're right. And Hill, you're right. Hill is on pace to get 2,000. But no, that
Chiefs defense is very good. If that offense was clicking, they'd be a dangerous team.
They would be very dangerous, which I'm surprised that they're only 2.5-point favorites, but we'll see what happens. You're right. They have to stop dropping the ball. Actually, it's now down to 1. It's a 1-point favorite in Chiefs' favor. So
yeah, it don't surprise me. Bills need this game.
They do.
And Josh Allen played very well last week. So, and that's Allen for you. He'll play 2-3 great games where he looks like the MVP, and then he'll play 3 bad games where he don't. So
that's a very good outlook, because I thought the same thing, that the Bills need this way more than the Chiefs for their chances to get into the playoffs.
They're out of the playoffs as of right now.
Yeah. If they don't start winning, they're done.
Yep.
They're done. Earlier, before we started recording, you had mentioned you didn't like the NFL product this year.
Yeah, it's just, C.J. Stroud, he's the rookie. He's leading the league in passing this year. I mean, we just ain't seeing the quarterback play like that the NFL wants us to see. You just ain't seeing it.
So Tom Brady has said the same thing. And then also before we started, well, let's see. Actually, you just mentioned a little while ago. You'd watch the Barry Sanders Bye Bye Barry
documentary. Yeah.
So when Tom Brady made that quote, Barry Sanders came out and was like, "Well, he said I disagree with him. I think it is good. It's just that you don't have the same teams that you've been having their glory days in the past, having the same success."
Yeah.
So he's like, I see it a little bit differently. He's like, I still think it's a good talented group of people. I'm kind of right in the middle. It's not as exciting as it has been, and you're right. It's not the talented quarterbacks that you've seen in the past, and it's not the.
But yet they act like it is. I mean, they put out the top MVP guys, and they're talking about Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy and Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen still, and I'm like, they are not the MVPs. I mean, Brock Purdy, for instance, he plays with the Niners. He's probably the fourth best player on that team, behind Christian McCaffrey and behind Deebo Samuel and behind even that left tackle that they got, that Trent Williams. I mean, he's a stud. He's the best tackle in the game.
He is.
So I don't know why they are trying so hard to still give that MVP to a quarterback. Tyreek Hill is the MVP this year. Tua is up for the MVP ahead of Tyreek Hill, and I'm like, Tyreek's the best player on that team, not Tua.
Yeah.
So I don't get what the NFL's doing with there. So,
shall we turn the page, go to the NFL, or leave the NFL and talk NBA a little bit?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Just briefly, I'm going to make one quick comparison. The NBA is doing an in-season tournament, and it's following on the coattails of what the WNBA tried. And they wanted to try it in the WNBA first to see if it would work. So the reason I'm bringing it up is that the same teams were in the in-season tournament for the WNBA as the WNBA Finals Championship, and that was the Liberty versus the Aces. Now, will that happen in the NBA? And my gut reaction is no, that won't happen, because the in-season tournament is Saturday, and it's the Pacers and the Lakers. And I don't see the Lakers and the Pacers getting all the way through the playoffs through 7-team or 5-team or even the play-in, depending on what happens after the All-Star break and all the trades happen. I don't see the Lakers getting all the way to the championship game at the season finals.
The NBA finals?
Yeah.
Now, the Lakers did make it to the Western Conference Finals last year.
Now they did.
Beating Memphis, beating Golden State. I mean, I don't know how impressive that really was, but I mean, they were in the play-in tournament. They won the play-in tournament, got the 7 seed, knocked off Memphis, and then beat Golden State, both on the road. That's not shabby. Not shabby. That's pretty good.
So that's where I'm going with this. So
Yeah.
LeBron is playing out of his mind.
And he's playing good this year, too.
If you watched any of the Pelicans game, or in my case, you watched any of the highlights, he dismantled him.
Yeah.
In 21 minutes, because he didn't even play a whole lot.
Yeah. They won by 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pelicans didn't even get to 90 points. It was like 133-89.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis was the only one that had 30 minutes. He was at 31 minutes.
Yeah.
They had 4 of their 5 starters in double figures. So, that's why I bring this up. Is this going to happen? Are the Lakers going to get to the finals? Like you say, they got to the conference finals last year.
Well, we don't know how good Memphis is. They've been playing without their star. Golden State is not very good. Denver Nuggets are not playing as good as I thought they were. So.
And the Houston Rockets have beat them twice already this year.
To me, it just you know how LeBron is. LeBron's LeBron. Even at age 40, he looks like he's still good. If Anthony Davis is the key, if Anthony Davis can put in his 20 points and rip down 15 rebounds, and the Lakers could get there. But The Pacers, on the other hand, I don't know. I don't think they could, not like they did in this tournament. I don't think they could go through the Bucks, the Celtics.
Not in
the
seven-game
team,
series.
the team I thought that was going to be really good this year in the Eastern Conference was the Cavaliers. They haven't showed up yet either.
No, they haven't. Well, and you mentioned Anthony Davis has to step up. In that game against the Pelicans, he had a double-double.
Yeah.
It was 15 rebounds and his 16 points that helped him out.
Yeah, and if he can play like that, the Lakers are a good team.
Yeah, they are. They're a great team. They are. And then, I mean, Prince threw in 15. LeBron had 30. Cam Reddish had 9. D'Angelo Russell had 14. Hachimura off the bench had 12. I mean, it is actually a deep team. And then Austin Reeves had another 17 off the bench. The Pelicans just fell asleep on that one. But then on the other side, the Pacers, the offense that the Pacers are putting up this year is nuts. And to knock off a Milwaukee Bucks team, I thought was amazing because if you happen to catch any of the highlights of the press conference afterwards, Tyrese Halliburton was doing Damon Lillard's pointing at his wrist, going, "It's Dame time." And Damon Lillard is like, "Well, I can't be mad at the guy. How many times have I done that to people? And if they use it on me," he's like, and he's like, "They were great. It's exactly what they did. They got us."
Yeah, he's the talk of the NBA right now, ain't he? That Halliburton.
Yeah.
The way he's playing.
But, okay, so the Pacers, can they make a strong run in the playoffs? Think about this statement that I'm going to make. The Pacers offense is first in the NBA this year as they are averaging 128.4 points a game. And defensively, they're 29th out of 30 teams, allowing almost 120 points a game.
Yeah, they're terrible. That over-under game, I looked at that over-under number last night. And by the way, they didn't hit it, but it was 257.5 points. That Pacers-Bucks game last night. 257 points. That's insane.
That is insane.
How can a number even get that high? But you know what? It wasn't far off. I think they had 250 together.
Okay, yeah. Well, and if you look at any of the other Pacers scores, a few days ago, Miami, they beat Miami 144-129.
Mm-hmm.
And they played them in back-to-back games. So they lost the first one 142-132. Mm-hmm. That was 174 they scored that game. They had another 160-plus game. They played Toronto 132-131. They had a 300-point over game. Toronto had 152. The Pacers had 157. Mm-hmm. Dude, that is zero defense.
Yeah, Yeah, that's, to me, that's just, the Pacers are just like living off of Halliburton and
Buddy Hield.
Yeah, Hield. And just saying, guys, just put on an offensive clinic. We don't care what you do defense. Just go out and do your thing.
Yeah, so I agree. So Saturday in-season tournament championship, 7:30 p.m., ABC, and I believe ESPN maybe. I think it's on both of them. I'm sorry, ESPN2. Saturday at 7:30. The winning player also gets $500,000, each winning player, in addition to the other two.
Yeah, everybody on the team.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for just making it there, they get $200,000.
To me, that's not a real big deal for guys like LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who are making $35 million a year. But if you're a bench player making your $2.5 million,
yeah,
and all of a sudden you're like, geez, I get a $500,000 bonus. That's a pretty big deal.
Plus, they're playing it in Vegas, so Nevada has no in-state income tax, so that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome for these guys.
Yeah.
So
I'm rooting for the bench players. I mean, go get out there and play.
Right.
I'd say LeBron, Anthony, sit down. I'm taking over. We're going to win this damn thing because I want that $500K.
It is Friday, and I love checking on some teams that have made some interesting decisions. One of them being Los Angeles Clippers. They're playing tonight, the late game on ESPN. They're taking on the Jazz. Jazz aren't really all that good, but it's fun for me to watch what future Hall of Famers, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and now James Harden, how they all play together. And I'm missing some other key players on their team that could be potential Hall of Famers. So if you want to see what happens, the James Harden experience is now, or experiment, I should say, is now being tried and tested by the LA Clippers. So that's the 9 p.m. game on ESPN. I'm going to watch, but a lot of stuff going on this week with volleyball and upcoming bowl games and college football playoffs and NFL games if you're a huge NFL fan. So lots of stuff to watch, as well as men's basketball, women's basketball. So fun time to watch sports.
Yes.
Any other topics you want to hit on, Roger?
I'll just touch on the NHL. There's just I've been watching a little bit. I try to watch that TNT on Wednesday night. That's pretty good hockey. Their little show that they got, that they're trying to compete with the NBA on TNT. Charles Barkley and Shaq and Ernie Johnson and them. I mean, their little cast or crew that they have on NHL tonight. I mean, they're pretty good guys. I like listening to them.
Do they have some old players too?
Yeah,
I should say old. I should say former
don't
players.
ask me their names. I don't know.
No, it's all good.
I'm new to this whole hockey thing, but there's a lot of good teams going right now.
Nice.
My buddy, who's a big Rangers fan, and I decided that if I'm going to root for a team, I think that's who I'm just going to root for, is the Rangers.
All right.
And they are playing very good this year. Dallas Stars are playing good. Of course, the Vegas Knights and Bruins are playing good. I think the Rangers actually right now have the overall record, or have the overall best record. And the Edmonton Oilers, who started out very slow, are now on a 5-game winning streak. And that Connor McDavid scored like 20 points in the last 7 games. I mean, he's tearing it up.
I feel bad for that kid being at Blackhawk.
Connor McDavid's Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, okay. Who am I thinking of?
There's a new kid out called Connor I don't know. There's a new kid on the Blackhawks, and his name is Connor something. And
Connor Bedard. That's who I was thinking of.
He's a very good player.
Okay, and you said Connor
McDavid.
Oh, Connor McDavid. My bad.
Yes,
my bad.
And he is, like I said, he's got like 20 points in the last 6-7 games. I mean, he's tearing it up. And Edmonton's on a 5-game winning streak, which everybody knew that was going to. Edmonton could be the best team in the game. I mean, they're that good. So it's good to see them winning. It's good to see them climbing.
Yeah, and to get back where they were last year, I mean, to go that far deep into the playoffs.
So, yeah, like I said, I'm kind of new to this hockey thing, and I'm starting to watch a little bit, especially on Wednesday night, TNT, and it's amazing on how fast them guys skate. Wow,
it is.
Oh,
it's a fun.
Oh my gosh,
it's a fun fast.
And then when they get into an overtime game and it's 3-on-3, oh my gosh. It just goes from like fast to like super speed. Those overtime games are kind of fun to watch.
When they're on the ice, they basically sprint the entire time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Talk about
they got to be winded.
Great athletes.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Roger, thanks for coming out today. I appreciate it. Any other final thoughts?
No, I don't think so. I think we kind of touched on everything. So.
All right. Husker volleyball, go check them out or watch them, I guess, because that's a tough ticket to go and get a ticket to see them.
Yeah, they play
person.
one more game in Lincoln.
Yep. If they win, then they're on the road, and it's Tampa.
Tampa or Tallahassee. Yeah, Tampa.
Yeah, which is odd. I'd forgotten that Omaha lost the NCAA finals, and it looks like the next upcoming years they're going to go around to some different cities. So I'm glad some different cities get a chance.
Yeah.
It was just great for us to being able to see them all here in the finals.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. If you listen on YouTube, please hit subscribe and like and follow if you listen on Spotify. I'm Daryl.
Roger?
That's Roger. Go watch some sports.